Hello, my name's Emily. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going over 7 fall vibey books that I want to recommend to you guys. So I have a lot more than 7, but I thought 7 was a good number, so we're just going to stick with that. Let me know down below if you'd like to see more recommendations from me. If not, there are plenty of other recommendation videos too that I'm sure you could check out. My first one for today is, of course, Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and Faith Erin Hicks, I think is the illustrator, maybe? Anyway, if you can't tell, this has clearly got a nice fall cover, and it's got beautiful artwork in it, as you can see. So this graphic novel is about Deja and Josiah, and all through high school they are best friends and they work at this pumpkin farm. It's a pumpkin patch, but as you can see in here, it's like way more than a pumpkin patch. Like there's just so much more to it. But this Halloween is different because Josie and Deja are finally seniors. It's their last season at the patch, their last shift together, their last goodbye. Josie's ready to spend the whole night feeling melancholy about it. He's the melancholy type. But Deja has a plan. What if instead of moping, instead of the usual slinging lima beans down at the succotash hut, they went out with a bang? They could see all the sights, taste all the snacks. Maybe Josie could even talk to that cute girl he's been mooning over for 3 years. What if their last shift was an adventure? So I have read this once, I think like 2 years ago. I didn't read it last year, unfortunately, but I super love this graphic novel. I plan on picking it up this year as a light, fun read. I don't know if I'll do it in October or November. I'm not sure, but I think this is a perfect fall read. If you can't tell just from the premise and the cover alone, obviously it's got fall time, the pumpkin patch you saw, there's a maze, there's like fall time foods like candy apples and just different things, and I definitely get fall vibes from this. It just feels like you just dive right into fall. If fall was a book, I would definitely say that this was it. My next pick is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. So this is about Ellingham Academy. It's a famous private school in Vermont. It was founded by Albert Ellingham, an early 20th century tycoon who wanted to make a wonderful place full of riddles, twisting pathways, and gardens. A place, he said, where learning is a game. In 1936, shortly after the school opened, Ellingham's wife and daughter, Iris and Alice, were kidnapped. The only real clue was a mocking riddle listing methods of murder signed with the frightening pseudonym Truly Devious. It became one of the great crimes of American history. Something like that could never happen again, of course. Years later, true crime aficionado Stevie Bell is set to begin her first year at Ellingham Academy, and she has an ambitious plan. She will solve this cold case. That is, she will solve the case when she gets a grip on her demanding new school life and her housemates, the inventor, the novelist, the actor, the artist, and the jokester. But something strange is happening. Truly Devious makes a surprise return, and death revisits Ellingham Academy. The past has crawled out of its grave. Someone has gotten away with murder. Obviously all the synopsises for these are gonna scream fall, at least to me anyway, but this one, obviously you've got Stevie who wants to solve this cold case that happened all these years ago, and it kind of feels reminiscent to like an Agatha Christie or a Sherlock Holmes novel. I think Agatha Christie books all kind of feel like fall to me. Murder mysteries are just a fall time thing in my head. Anything with Sherlock Holmes inspired kind of things are right up my alley. I absolutely love them. Can't get enough of them. Definitely feel fall time to me. But in this, there's a forest that surrounds the school, and obviously the school's holding some secrets, and death is revisited, and school setting. I mean, what more screams fall than this book? Like, even the cover is got that fall spooky vibe. Next, we have Killing November by Adriana Mather. I love this book so much. This author, anything she puts out, I will read. She wrote How to Hang a Witch and Haunting the Deep, and then also Killing November, and then the sequel to this one, Hunting November. November is as good as dead. She just doesn't know it yet. At the International Academy abscondity, sorry. There's no electricity, no internet, an archaic eye for an eye punishment system. Classes range from knife throwing and poisons to the art of deception, and the students, all silver spoon descendants of the world's most elite strategists, training to become assassins, spies, and master impersonators. One is a virtuoso of accents and never to be trusted. Another is a vicious fighter determined to exploit November's weaknesses. And then there's the boy with the mesmerizing eyes and a secret agenda. November doesn't know how an ordinary girl like her fits into the school's complicated legacy. But when a student is murdered, she'll need to separate her enemies from her allies before the crime gets pinned on her, or she becomes the killer's next victim. So let's point out a few of the things that give me fall vibes. So first we have school setting. Obviously, like Truly Devious, also a school setting. Obviously, because school normally takes place in the fall, so it just has that fall vibe. And then we have a secret society kind of thing. That's also in here. Definitely fall feeling, like assassins and everything. Similar along the assassin school line, you could say like Nevernight too. So there's my pop-in one for you. So nothing screams fall to me than murder. I don't know why, but you know, murder mystery kind of things just give me that fall feeling. And this one, it also helps that, you know, the girl's name is November. So I read this last November and it fit perfectly well. And I really enjoyed it. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. This duology was really good, fast paced, kept me wanting to know what was going to happen. You know, there's all kinds of secrets and action, and there's a little bit of romance. So check this one out if you want like fun, action-packed murder mystery, secret society kind of things to read this fall. My next pick is quite a popular one, so I won't be surprised if you already read it, but that is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. Okay, so can we just talk about the cover? Like, when I first saw this cover, I absolutely loved it. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about the book because I've never read one like this before, but I will tell you that once I got started, I absolutely loved it. I love these characters, and the story and how it weaves together in all 4 books. I absolutely love it. So I'm going to read the synopsis. He's the infamous killer no man has ever been able to find. Now it's a girl's turn. Groomed to be the perfect highborn Victorian young lady, Audrey Rose Wadsworth has a decidedly different plan for herself. After the loss of her beloved mother, she is determined to understand the nature of death and its workings. Trading in her embroidery needle for an autopsy scalpel, Audrey secretly apprentices in forensics. She soon gets drawn into the investigation of serial killer Jack the Ripper, but to her horror, the search for clues brings her far closer to her sheltered world than she ever thought possible. Inspired by the infamously unsolved case, this dazzling debut by Carrie Maniscalco weaves an atmospheric tale of beauty and darkness in which a remarkably modern Victorian girl discovers that some buried secrets simply won't stay dead. So we're going to talk about my thoughts on what makes this a fall vibey book. First off, it takes place in London, and it kind of feels like it takes place in the fall, if I remember correctly. So this begins on August 30th of 1888, so historical fiction, which is usually fall feeling to me, in a London, and London is always like that rainy place, like in movies and books you see, it's like always rainy, and it's always usually fall time. And then of course we have Jack the Ripper, which unsolved case, like cold case from way back when, and it's just so interesting because they never found him, and it was just so gruesome. And of course you have the murders and this girl who wants to try and help find, but back in that day that was not something a woman did. Obviously you have the mystery behind who's doing it, and then not to mention I've never read a book before that dealt with a female who wanted to do autopsies and forensics back in the day like Audrey does. And there's also a little bit of romance in here too. This book, I haven't reread it in a while, but I really want to, but I have so many other books I want to get to this fall too, to add to my fall vibey list. But if you haven't read this, please check it out. I absolutely love this series. They're all out. There's 4 books in this series plus a novella, and I just highly recommend this series. So next we're kind of changing tactics a little bit. This one's more fantastical, and that is Sorcerer of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. Elizabeth has known that as long as she has known anything, raised as a foundling in one of Ostermere's great libraries, Elizabeth has grown up among the tools of sorcery, magical grimoires that whisper on the shelves and rattle beneath iron chains. If provoked, they transform into grotesque monsters of ink and leather. She hopes to become a warden charged with protecting the kingdom from their power. Then an act of sabotage releases the library's most dangerous grimoire. Elizabeth's desperate intervention implicates her in the crime, and she is torn from her home to face justice in the capital. With no one to turn to but her sworn enemy, the sorcerer Nathaniel Thorne, and his mysterious demonic servant, she finds herself entangled in a centuries-old conspiracy. Not only could the great libraries go up in flames, but the world along with them. As her alliance with Nathaniel grows stronger, Elizabeth starts to question everything she's been taught about sorcerers, about the library she so loves, even about herself. For Elizabeth has a power she has never guessed, and a future she could never have imagined. Again, this cover screams fall to me. Absolutely love it. So let's talk about the aspects of this that feel fall. So we've got a magical library that holds these kind of like dark grimoires, and if they get out, they turn into these like physical monsters. Monsters, fall time, you know. I think there's some forests in here too, so that kind of feels fall. Anything in a forest really does feel fall. And we have sorcerers, we have the demon sidekick, who I absolutely love. He is my favorite. I love Silas. And then of course we have the atmosphere. The atmosphere of the library just feels so different and interesting from anything I've read about anything that has dealt with libraries. And I really just have been wanting to reread this one. I really want to read all of these. Obviously I can't, but this one lately has been really calling to me. Like, I started wanting to read this like a couple months ago, and one of these days I will reread all these books. Maybe I'll do it in a vlog or something, who knows. But check out this one if you haven't already. Again, this is another popular one, but honestly, it's true, this one definitely feels fall-y. So we're on to our next to last one, and for that I'm going with Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. This follows Erica, or Rika, and I'm going to go over this. So, I was told that dreams were our heart's desires. My nightmares, however, became my obsession. His name is Michael Christ. My boyfriend's older brother is like that scary movie that you peek through your hand to watch. He's handsome, strong, and completely terrifying. The star of his college's basketball team and now gone pro. He's more concerned with the dirt on his shoe than me. But I noticed him. I saw him. I heard him. The things that he did, the deeds that he did. For years, I bit my nails, unable to look away. Now I've graduated high school and moved on to college, but I haven't stopped watching Michael. He's bad, and the dirt I've seen isn't content to stay in my head anymore, because he's finally noticed me. Michael. Her name is Erica Fane, but everyone calls her Rika. My brother's girlfriend grew up hanging around my house and is always at our dinner table. She looks down when I enter a room and stills when I am close. I can always feel the fear rolling off her, and while I haven't had her body, I know that I have her mind. That's all I really want anyway. Until my brother leaves for the military and I find Rika alone at college, in my city, unprotected. The opportunity is too good to be true, as well as the timing, because you see, 3 years ago she put a few of my high school friends in prison, and now they're out. We waited, we've been patient, and now every last one of her nightmares will come true. Dark romance. Check. Anything dark romance. Obviously, fall time for me. I just, love it. This usually surrounds like Devil Night, you know, so that fall. Revenge, secrets, romance. What more could you ask for? This definitely, the first time I read it, I listened to it as an audiobook, and I absolutely fell in love with it, and I couldn't wait to get into the rest of them. I have read all but the last book and then the novella that comes after this, the last one, so I definitely need to reread all of these to finish that, but I love these characters. They're all badass and hot, and too much hotness. They definitely don't read this unless you know explicit content warning, sexual content warning, disturbing warning right here. Check out Goodreads to find these trigger warnings, obviously, but I would recommend like you be 18 or older, obviously. So this is definitely a book I revisit in the fall time, and I definitely think if you like dark romance that you should check this one out too if you haven't already. Sorry if I keep like looking over here. Obviously it's a little too late, but my things right over here, and I'm not used to just looking over here. I just keep looking at myself in the thing, so sorry about that. So the last book I have for you is a book of short stories, and that is Starlight by Hannah Lee Kidder. I found her YouTube channel and saw that she had 2 published short story collections. So the first one's called Little Birds. I highly recommend checking that one out too. That was her first one. So last year in October this one came out, but it is 12 dark fantasy, horror, and contemporary short stories. I read this earlier this year and absolutely loved it. Definitely has all the fall vibes feeling. It's got obviously horror and dark fantasy. It also just deals with some more darker topics. Some of her short stories do. So that was, really interesting to read. I'm not a big fan of short stories, but I absolutely liked hers. They were easy to read and I flew through them. Some of them are like flash fiction and aren't very long. So if you want to read something quick and easy, but that's still got the fall vibes, I highly recommend this series. It's just creepy, atmospheric fall stories. And I can't get enough of her writing. She has this really interesting way of writing stories and I absolutely loved it. So please go check out this book at least, or one of her short story collections. I highly recommend it. They're very, diverse, and definitely check this out. Okay, so we made it to the end. Those were the 7 books that I recommend for fall. I hope you check out some of them, or I hope you read them. If you have, let me know down below. Let me know if you haven't checked out some of them and which ones you haven't, or let me know if you will check out some of them. So again, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate every time someone watches and likes it. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me, and I will see you again soon. Bye!